For more than 50 years, the Moon has remained a distant and silent witness to one of humanity's greatest achievements, a place where footprints were left behind during the Apollo missions and never touched again. But now, everything is about to change, as NASA prepares to send humans back to the Moon in a mission that could redefine our future in space. And this mission, known as Artemis II, is not simply a return to old glory, but the beginning of a new era where exploration is driven by long-term goals rather than short-term success. And as the world watches this historic moment unfold, many people are beginning to ask why it has taken so long to return and what makes this mission so different from what we have seen before. And the answer lies in the vision behind Artemis, which is not just about landing on the Moon again, but about building a sustainable presence that can support future missions deeper into space, including the possibility of human exploration of Mars. And, as technology has advanced over the decades, so has our understanding of the challenges involved in space travel, from radiation exposure to life support systems, and the need for reliable communication over vast distances. And all of these factors have played a role in shaping the Artemis program into something far more complex and ambitious than the Apollo missions ever were. And as we stand at the edge of this new chapter, it is important to understand that Artemis II is not the final goal, but a critical step in a much larger journey, one that could change the way we see our place in the universe. And what makes this mission even more exciting is that it will be the first time in decades that astronauts travel beyond low Earth orbit, venturing into deep space where the risks are greater and the rewards are even greater. And as preparations continue, the anticipation continues to grow, not just among scientists and engineers, but among people all around the world who are eager to see humanity take another bold step beyond our planet. And while everything may seem carefully planned, space exploration always carries a level of uncertainty that cannot be fully eliminated, and it is this uncertainty that adds a sense of suspense and excitement to the mission, because no matter how advanced our technology becomes, there is always something unknown waiting beyond the horizon. NASA's Artemis II mission represents one of the most advanced steps ever taken in human space exploration, and at the center of this mission are two powerful systems that make the journey possible: the Space Launch System rocket and the Orion spacecraft, both designed with cutting-edge technology that far surpasses anything used during the Apollo era. And together, they form the backbone of a mission that will carry astronauts farther from Earth than any humans have traveled in over 50 years. And what makes this system so remarkable is not just its power, but its precision and safety features, which have been developed through years of testing, research, and engineering innovation, ensuring that every stage of the journey is carefully controlled and monitored. And, as the massive rocket prepares for launch, it represents more than just a machine. It symbolizes decades of scientific progress and human determination to push beyond known boundaries, and once it lifts off, it will generate an immense force capable of breaking free from Earth's gravity and sending the Orion spacecraft on a trajectory toward the Moon, where it will perform a critical lunar flyby. But unlike previous missions, this journey is not focused on landing. Instead, it is designed to test every system in real deep space conditions, including navigation, communication, and life support, all of which must function perfectly in an environment where even small errors can become serious challenges. And inside the Orion spacecraft, astronauts will rely on these systems to keep them safe as they travel through regions of space that are far beyond the protection of Earth's magnetic field, exposing them to higher levels of radiation and isolation than they have ever experienced before. And this is why Artemis II is considered such an important mission, because it is not only about reaching the Moon, but about proving that humans can survive and operate effectively in deep space for extended periods of time. And as engineers monitor every detail from mission control, they will be watching for even the smallest changes in performance, ready to respond instantly if anything goes wrong, while the crew inside the spacecraft focuses on maintaining stability and following their carefully planned procedures. And, as the journey continues, the spacecraft will enter a phase where Earth becomes a distant blue dot in the darkness of space, a powerful reminder of how far humanity has come, and how much further it still has to go. And in that moment, the true scale of space becomes clear, showing just how small our world is compared to the vast universe beyond it. As Artemis II continues its journey beyond Earth, the mission transitions into one of its most critical and intense phases, where the spacecraft begins moving deeper into the vast emptiness of space, and the reality of human exploration, far from home, becomes more powerful and more emotional. Because at this stage, the astronauts are no longer simply participants in a controlled test near Earth. They are travelers in deep space, where every decision, every system check, and every moment of focus carries greater weight than ever before. And, as the Orion spacecraft travels farther away, Earth slowly shrinks into a distant sphere of light and color, reminding the crew that they are now separated from humanity by hundreds of thousands of kilometers. And this isolation is not just physical, but psychological as well, because communication delays begin to increase, making real-time interaction impossible and forcing the crew to rely more heavily on their training, teamwork, and problem-solving abilities. And while everything may appear stable on the surface, deep inside mission control on Earth, engineers and flight directors are constantly analyzing data streams, watching for even the smallest irregularities that could signal a potential issue. Because in deep space, there is no room for error and no quick rescue option available. And as the spacecraft approaches its lunar flyby trajectory, tension naturally increases, because this is the moment when all systems must perform exactly as designed under conditions that cannot be fully replicated on Earth. And radiation levels increase as the spacecraft moves beyond Earth's protective magnetic shield, adding another layer of challenge for both the technology and the astronauts, who must remain focused and alert despite the growing distance from home. And during this phase, the Orion spacecraft becomes more than just a vehicle. It becomes a self-contained world, carrying everything needed for survival, communication, navigation, and scientific observation, all functioning together in perfect coordination. And any deviation from expected performance must be carefully assessed and corrected in real time, while the crew continues to monitor instruments, execute planned procedures, and maintain constant awareness of their surroundings. And, as the moon begins to grow larger in their view, a sense of anticipation builds inside the spacecraft, because they are now approaching one of the most important milestones of the mission, the lunar flyby, where they will test navigation systems, capture valuable data, and experience firsthand what it means to travel so far from Earth. And in this moment, the silence of space becomes more profound, interrupted only by system alerts and calm communications, while the vastness of the universe stretches endlessly around them, creating a powerful contrast between human fragility and technological achievement. And this is where Artemis II begins to show its true significance, not as a simple mission, but as a gateway to deeper exploration that will shape the future of humanity beyond Earth. As the Orion spacecraft reaches its closest approach to the Moon during the Artemis II mission, the entire journey enters a moment of extraordinary importance, where precision, timing, and control must align perfectly, because this lunar flyby is not just a visual milestone, but a critical test of every major system on board, including propulsion, navigation, thermal control, and communication. And as the spacecraft moves along its carefully calculated path, The moon appears larger and more detailed than ever before, revealing a stark and silent landscape filled with craters, shadows, and ancient surfaces that have remained unchanged for billions of years. And inside the spacecraft, the astronauts are fully engaged in monitoring data, executing commands, and ensuring that all systems remain stable as they pass through this crucial phase. While on Earth, mission control teams observe every signal with intense focus, knowing that even the smallest deviation could provide valuable insights or require immediate adjustments. And during this flyby, the spacecraft must demonstrate its ability to maintain stability in deep space conditions, where gravitational forces shift and environmental factors differ significantly from those in Earth orbit. And this is where Artemis II becomes more than a test flight, because it is a real demonstration of human capability to operate safely beyond Earth's immediate environment. And, as the Orion spacecraft circles the moon, communication delays become more noticeable, reminding the crew that they are now operating at a distance where instant response is no longer possible, forcing them to rely heavily on preparation, discipline, and teamwork. And while the spacecraft itself remains steady and controlled, the psychological impact of this moment is significant, because the astronauts are witnessing a view of the moon that only a handful of humans have ever seen from this distance, a perspective that reinforces both the beauty and the isolation of deep space exploration. And as the flyby continues, scientific instruments on board collect valuable data about radiation levels, spacecraft performance, and environmental conditions, all of which will be used to improve future missions under the Artemis program, including eventual lunar landings and long-term exploration goals. And even though everything appears to be functioning as planned, the mission carries an underlying tension, because space remains unpredictable and tension areas of fuels or of fame. Success depends on continuous accuracy and flawless execution. And, as the spacecraft completes its closest approach and begins to shift its trajectory away from the moon, a sense of accomplishment begins to build, not because the mission is over, but because a major and highly complex phase has been successfully completed, proving that human engineering and training can withstand the challenges of deep space travel. And this moment marks a turning point in Artemis II, where confidence in the system grows stronger and the path toward future lunar exploration becomes clearer than ever before. After completing the lunar flyby, the Artemis II mission enters the return phase, which is just as critical and demanding as the journey outward, because now the Orion spacecraft must carefully navigate back toward Earth while maintaining perfect system performance and ensuring the safety of the crew. And although the moon is now slowly shrinking behind them, the vastness of space continues to surround the spacecraft, creating a sense of both relief and continued tension, because the mission is not yet complete until safe re-entry and landing are achieved. And during this phase, engineers on Earth carefully analyze all collected data from the lunar encounter, studying how the spacecraft behaved under deep space conditions, how the systems performed, and whether any adjustments will be needed for future missions. While inside the spacecraft, the astronauts continue their routine checks, monitoring life support systems, propulsion readiness, and navigation alignment as they prepare for the long journey back. And one of the most important aspects of this return phase is ensuring that the spacecraft remains on a precise trajectory, because even the smallest deviation could affect re-entry conditions when approaching Earth's atmosphere, where extreme heat and pressure will test the structural integrity of the vehicle. And, as Orion travels farther away from the moon's influence, Earth gradually begins to grow larger in the distance, appearing once again as a bright blue and white sphere, a powerful reminder of home and everything the crew has temporarily left behind. And this sight brings a psychological shift for the astronauts, as the focus moves from exploration back to preparation for survival during the most dangerous part of the mission, which is atmospheric re-entry. And during this time, mission control becomes even more active, continuously simulating scenarios, cross-checking systems, and preparing for every possible outcome, because re-entry is one of the most complex phases of any space mission, requiring precise angle control, heat shielding performance, and communication timing. And as Artemis II progresses closer to this stage, the importance of every earlier decision becomes even clearer, because the success of the entire mission depends not only on reaching the Moon, but also on returning safely to Earth. And as the spacecraft continues its steady path homeward, the astronauts experience a unique perspective that only a few humans have ever seen. The gradual transition from deep space back to Earth's gravitational influence. And this shift represents more than just a physical journey. It represents a symbolic return from exploration to discovery, where everything learned during the mission will now be used to shape the future of human space travel. And as anticipation builds for re-entry, the world prepares to witness the conclusion of a mission that could redefine humanity's next steps into the solar system. As Artemis II approaches its final and most dangerous phase, the spacecraft begins its carefully controlled descent back toward Earth, where the atmosphere will test every layer of engineering, preparation, and human resilience that has been built into the mission. And this moment represents the final barrier between deep space exploration and safe return home. Because re-entry is not simply a landing process, but a high-energy transition that involves extreme heat, intense pressure, and precise navigation. And as Orion enters the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, it begins to experience rapidly increasing temperatures caused by atmospheric friction, requiring its advanced heat shield to perform flawlessly under conditions that simulate the most extreme environment any spacecraft can face. And inside the capsule, the astronauts remain securely fastened, fully aware that every second of this phase is critical, while mission control on Earth monitors telemetry data in real time, watching for any changes in trajectory, temperature, or system performance. And although communication becomes temporarily limited due to the plasma surrounding the spacecraft, all systems are designed to operate autonomously during this brief but intense window, ensuring the safety of the crew even without immediate input from Earth. And as the spacecraft continues its descent, the forces of gravity increase significantly, pushing against the crew with immense pressure, making this one of the second most physically demanding experiences of the entire mission. Yet, despite these challenges, the spacecraft remains stable, guided by precise engineering and years of preparation, and slowly but surely, the violent conditions of re-entry begin to ease as Orion moves into the lower atmosphere, where parachutes are deployed in a carefully timed sequence to slow its descent and prepare for splashdown, marking the final stage of the journey. And, as the ocean surface comes into view, anticipation reaches its peak, both inside the spacecraft and across mission control centers around the world, because this is the moment that determines the success of everything that came before it. And when the capsule finally touches down safely in the ocean, a wave of relief and celebration spreads instantly, confirming that humanity has once again traveled to deep space and returned safely, proving that the Artemis program is not just a vision, but a reality in progress. And as recovery teams move in to secure the capsule and bring the astronauts home, the significance of this mission becomes even clearer. Because Artemis II is not just about reaching the Moon, it is about proving that humans can explore far beyond Earth and return safely, opening the door to future missions that will take humanity even further into the solar system. And, as the world reflects on this achievement, one truth becomes undeniable. This mission is only the beginning of a much larger journey that could one day lead to permanent lunar bases, missions to Mars, and a new era of space exploration that defines the future of humanity. And if you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.